Have you ever stopped and wondered what's really going on inside your own head? Well, today, we're doing more than just talking about psychology. We're actually going to build a practical toolkit for your mind. These are real, simple techniques you can start using right away to understand yourself just a little bit better. So let's dive in.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. It's 2 in the morning and you're replaying some weird decision you made, or out of nowhere, a random memory just hits you and completely changes your mood. Those moments, they're not just random glitches. Think of them as clues to how your mind works. And psychology, that's the science that helps us decode those clues.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. What is psychology, really? Because, it's so much more than what we see in movies, like a therapy session on a couch. It's really the scientific journey into understanding what makes us all tick.
At its heart, psychology is the scientific study of our minds and our behaviors. The whole field is basically dedicated to asking why. Why do we think the thoughts we do? Why do we feel certain emotions? Why do we act in specific ways? It's all about creating a map of our internal world.
William James, who's often called the father of American psychology, he saw it as more than just a science. For him, it was a practical tool. His whole point was that understanding your own mind is the very first step to actually guiding it. It's about moving from being a passenger in your own life to getting into the driver's seat.
And this field is just incredibly diverse. You've got clinical psychology, which is all about supporting mental health. Then there's social psychology, which decodes how we act in groups. And you even have positive psychology, which focuses on what helps us really thrive. It pretty much covers the entire spectrum of what it means to be human.
And listen, this isn't just about some abstract ideas. Psychology has a direct physical link to our brains. For instance, when you practice self-control, you are literally giving your prefrontal cortex a workout. And that sudden rush of fear or joy, that's your amygdala lighting up. By using these simple psychological techniques, you can physically strengthen the pathways in your brain to build a more resilient mind.
And this search for understanding, it's not just for science labs. As Pope Francis points out, this whole journey connects to our deeper search for meaning and purpose in life. It's really about aligning our inner world with our values so we can have a more complete, holistic sense of well-being. Okay, so we know what psychology is, but now let's get to the really important question. What can it actually do for us? How does it make a measurable difference in our lives? Well, it turns out the evidence is pretty amazing. First and foremost, psychology is like a powerful mirror. It gives us the tools we need to actually see and understand our own thoughts and feelings. This helps us move from just reacting to everything to being more intentional. And that self-awareness, that's the foundation for personal growth. It's where a sense of purpose really begins. And this isn't just some feel-good idea. It's backed by some serious data. A 2020 study in the Journal of Positive Psychology found that people who regularly practice self-reflection reported up to a 30% boost in their overall well-being. So why does that happen? Because it helps us get unstuck from those negative thought loops and gives us space to actually feel gratitude. A 30% boost just from taking a few moments to understand your own mind. That's huge. And beyond our own inner world, psychology can dramatically improve how we relate to other people. By teaching us about things like empathy, better communication, and how to handle disagreements, it helps us build stronger, more meaningful relationships.
And the impact here is really significant. Research from social, psychological, and personality science found that applying these kinds of principles can improve the quality of our relationships by up to 25%. This was a total game changer for people like Sarah, a teacher who used to struggle with social anxiety. By using these tools, she learned how to connect way more confidently with both her students and her colleagues.
Look, life is always going to throw curveballs at us. That's just a fact. Psychology doesn't promise to stop the challenges from coming, but what it does is give us the tools to bounce back stronger. It teaches us to reframe failure, to see it not as the end of the road, but as a stepping stone for growth. And yep, the science backs this up too. A 2021 study in the Journal of Happiness Studies showed that techniques from cognitive behavioral therapy, which is all about changing negative thought patterns, can increase our resilience by up to 30%. It's kind of like strength training for your mind, getting you ready for whatever life decides to throw your way. Okay, I know what some of you might be thinking right about now. This all sounds great, but I'm way too busy. Or maybe this kind of stuff probably won't even work for me. These are super common hurdles, so let's just tackle them head on. The real key here is to start small. I mean, so small that it's almost impossible to say no. You don't have time for a 20-minute meditation? Totally fine. Try just 2 minutes of deep, focused breathing at your desk. Feeling skeptical about journaling? Don't worry about pages and pages. Just write down one single sentence about how you're feeling. These tiny little steps are what break down that resistance and start to build momentum.
All right, now we're at the best part. We're going to build your own personal 5-minute daily toolkit. These are simple, science-backed techniques you can literally start using the second this is over. First up, we have the self-awareness map. This is just a super simple 5-minute journaling practice. Grab any notebook, ask yourself a simple question like, what made me happy today, and just let your thoughts flow. Over time, I promise, you'll start to see patterns in your own thinking that you never even knew were there.
Next up is cognitive reframing. This one is all about catching and changing your thought patterns in the moment. The second you catch a negative thought like, I can't do this, you just pause and you consciously replace it with something more constructive, like, okay, I'll just tackle this one piece at a time. This tiny shift, when you practice it daily, builds incredible confidence. It's actually what helped Nagar, a doctoral student, get a handle on her exam stress.
And honestly, there are so many other tools out there. You can use mindfulness apps like Calm or Headspace for a quick 5-minute reset during your day. You can boost your own well-being through service by just setting a small goal to help someone out. You could even start a group chat with friends to keep each other motivated. The point is to just pick whatever feels right for you.
So here it is. Here is your call to action. I want to challenge you for the next 7 days to commit just 5 minutes a night to one of these practices. That's it. Try journaling just one thought. Try reframing one negative belief. Just see how it feels.
And that brings us to the end. I'll just leave you with this one question to get you started on your own journey, because psychology isn't just something to learn about, it's something to live. Thanks for joining me.